What's up guys, Cedo cards here with another video. Guys, a bit of a different topic today. I may have mentioned in the previous video that I wanted to have a conversation. You guys know I like my kind of macro, looking outside of having more nuanced conversations. We had the conversations around is the TCG in a bubble. We had 2 episodes around that. There is likely to be a lot more of those as well. But today I want to have a conversation around what we're seeing in that loads of franchises are now moving into different mediums, particularly TCGs. We've seen just very recently Cyberpunk 2077. They've announced the TCG. It's currently planned for 2026. They're going to have a Kickstarter for this. We're seeing Godzilla enter the TCG. We're seeing a bunch of other franchises enter into the TCG space. And so I wanted to have a conversation around that. It's sort of my thoughts around why we are seeing what we're seeing, what it suggests, and just a wider conversation around that. Before we do, really, I just want to look at 2 things today, namely just the booster box and the booster box case. So I made a video maybe 4 days ago, I want to say. And at that point, let's say 10th of December, around that time, it looked like the pressure had started to decompress. Prices were going down, booster boxes were under $300 in America, and was going underneath £200 in the UK. And I was hoping that would be the trajectory. However, looking back at where we are now, unfortunately, that's not the case. We are seeing a ton of sales over 300 again. It's 321, 325, 330, 325. We are seeing again that pressure return, and ultimately, it's just people want the game. It's winter time. People are bored. People aren't going out as much. It's cold, and people want the box to open them and get their cards, create new decks. Collect the items they want. I still have the sealed booster box in the acrylic that I really do want to open another box. It is really fun opening these boxes. However, that's my last loose booster box. So I am waiting, and we have been we've been hearing for ages that in December there will be a restock. Nothing's happened, at least in the UK. So I want to wait until there is stock with vendors that I can purchase before I even think of opening that box. I would like to hopefully buy 2. I'm not stingy. I just want to open them and then just be done with it until by then Spirit Forge should be very much nearby, and you can pre-order, and then I can open that. But yeah, it's winter time. People just want to open up packs. They want to play with their friends. New people are still trying to get into the market. Again, this is a fresh TCG. It is League of Legends. It is doing extremely well. The hype is there. The hype is building. The next video I'll be making is around the metal cards. So I've been looking into them more. Shout out Casino. He's in the UK. He's in the UK. He's in the Riftbound space. He made a great video explaining, the craziness behind it. And then we'll have a look at the market price of these as well. It's absolutely bonkers right now. They're all like 2K each minimum. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, we're seeing the prices, really sustain themselves quite heavy, quite high. Again, we're past 300 again. If I remove the minimum, you are seeing up and downs. This is 14th as well, but then we see 321, 324. So there is minor fluctuations, 280s we see here, but we have seen that upwards pressure again. So people are really just buying wherever shows up on the website. If stock shows up, they just buy it at what price point. So that's a sign of the pressure. Pressure is pushing up again, and even though that floor has come down, there is still pressure being pushed up on top. UK, it is intense. We have pushed up again past that 200. If you guys remember the previous video I did, about 5 days ago, we had seen 200 kind of become that new ceiling, because it had come down from like 240. But actually, we're just climbing back up again towards that high. So again, 220. This time around I put a minimum of 180 really, which is the lowest we're seeing. So we're seeing 218, 240, 220, a few 180s, but again 220, 210. So we are seeing that push up again in terms of that pressure. So when we look back at this in a few days time, I expect this to be even more higher. It is crazy. The game is great. Ultimately, Riot can say they have successfully launched their TCG. Of course, supply is an issue, and I really don't think they will fix this supply issue for a while. I don't think Spirit Falls will be fixed. I have concerns that Unleashed won't be. I remember the name this time. I have concerns that Unleashed won't be fixed in time, and I even have concerns that Vendetta won't be fixed. I am very confident that by the time we hit Radiance, it'll be fine. Stock is fine. They've got a good read of the market and how much supply they need. But until then, I'm not confident. The reason why I say that is everyone is really trying to get some Riftbound Origin stock. Clearly, you know, the reprints or restocks that were supposed to happen in December have not happened. You know, at least here in the UK. I'm not sure how it is in the US, but we've not heard anything from the Riftbound community Discord. It sounds like we're not really hearing anything there as well in the US as well. But I'm not sure. I'm not certain on that. I'm not sure at all. UK, we haven't seen any stock, and that means that the appetite people have for Origins, they're just going to translate that over to Spirit Forge. So where I couldn't buy another 2 or 3 Spirit Origins boxes, I'm going to buy what I plan to buy for Spirit Forge, but then I'm going to buy 2 or 3 in excess as well, because I want to open now. I can't. By the time it gets to Spirit Forge, that bubble is going to start to brew over, and I'm going to purchase more than I wanted to. So that means that, you know, many people will be buying more than they initially wanted to, and that's going to then put pressure on the supply of Spirit Forge. And again, we are still having people enter into the market. You know, we're not at a stable player base at the moment. It's still going to keep climbing for a long time. So there is going to be pressure on that angle as well on Spirit Forge. So I think ultimately there's going to be more demand than supply. And again, I think that issue would then creep into Unleashed, because again, they're releasing it every 3 months. There's just not enough time to print as much as you want to keep up this demand. And then people will be still climbing over for Unleashed because they couldn't get what they wanted for Spirit Forge. And I think that will, my opinion is that I think that will happen. That will continue to happen into Vendetta as well. And only really it will taper off a bit, it will ease off a bit with Vendetta. But by the time it hits Radiance, I think Riot Games will have a good read of the market, and there'll be enough supply. Even enough supply to counter scalping as well. That's my personal opinion. But expect by that point, which is close to a year's time, for the price of everything Origins to be absolutely astronomical and a mess. Unless they decide to really ramp up the printing and, you know, print in excess for Origins, but I very much doubt that. I think they're going to have so much issues with the printing of Spirit Forge, Vendetta, and Unleashed that they will not have the capacity and ability to print enough for Origins. So honestly, I'd say grab what you can for Origins now. Yes, we will have restocks at some point, and we will have restocks over the years, but it will never be enough to really, you know, dampen the secondary market and the price of what we see here. And then lastly, just before I go into my, you know, the wider conversation I want to have, just booster box cases. Again, they're maintaining pressure. We see another sale for 2.3k. Today's 15th, so today. I don't trust this sale. It's suggesting that there was a sale of 2.6k. I believe there's probably some market manipulation. Would it surprise me? Of course, this person does have a lot of positives. 36.3k. It's a lot. So there could be some credence to it. But for now, I'm willing to probably. I think 2.3k is kind of the ceiling. I mean, we saw a previous one sell for 2.35 about a week ago. It was a bid. But I just don't think that this 2.6k sell is legit. 2.3k, sure. So, you know, what I mean to say is that the pressure is still there for this, and you know, it's a bit mind-boggling, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. And if you just check in the UK as well, just before I go to my point, look at the UK again, nearing 1.4. That's a new high. We haven't hit 1.4 just yet. You know, we were there almost. Bubbled up quite closely back in November. But again, we are hitting that price point again. That we are damn near 1.4k. You know, in the UK, that's almost 3x. Well, that's about 2.5x. But I know in America, you guys are damn near, you know, almost 4x, which is crazy. When the game has been out for, you know, just a few months. But it goes to show the difference in demand based on where you are, and the player base, and the size of the player base, and also the purchasing power as well. Because America is currently the largest economy, so that means that generally you would expect higher purchasing power and you know, not deeper wallets, but greater access in terms of disposable income to be able to purchase these things. And again, the larger player base and more pressure on the price, and we're seeing what we are seeing. So just wanted to discuss those two today in terms of the market. The next video I mentioned I will discuss the metal cards and the craziness around those, and then we'll also look at some of the cheaper cards. I have been focusing mainly lately on the sign and the PSA 10s, but we'll start to take a look at the rules again, especially the non-signed overnumbered, because those are really going down in price, which is good. And I always say, keep telling people, exercise caution. Every time there's a restock or every time there's a sale, well, we've had no restock yet, but every time there's a sale, chances are someone is opening that box and then someone's bringing more cards into the market. So there is so much time until they stop printing Riftbound Origins. There's so much time to just wait for the items you want to collect. Just do other things in the meantime. Play League of Legends, play 2xKO, do something. But if you do want a card and you really want it, and you think whatever, I don't care about the price right now, then get it. The secondary market, we need a secondary market to exist, regardless anyway. But as I mentioned, I wanted to have a conversation today around what we are seeing in just the space of just media and franchises in general. I mentioned at the start of the video, Cyberpunk 2077 have announced they are making a TCG, and that's going to be with Kickstarter from next year. If you just look up on YouTube, you can find the Discord and they'll kind of keep you updated. And I mentioned Godzilla as well is one of them. We're seeing so many new franchises trying to enter into the TCG space, and I think when you think of the question or think of the issue and ask yourself why it's the case, I think franchises are realizing there's a benefit to having a collectible side to it. Godzilla, for example, Godzilla has they have the figurines, they have the it's very popular in Japan. However, I guess the question is, how long can that sustain your brand and your franchise? I don't know when they're next going to create a Godzilla movie or comic or anything along those lines. So I guess the conversation is, how do I sustain the brand if we're not releasing much on the main side? And collectibles seems to be one of them. Not only that, it's also good. It's good market data. It's good market data. Let's take League of Legends for example. So TCG, Riftbound TCG is doing fantastic right now, but let's say they eventually release a Z set, and they see from pre-orders alone that this set is absolutely washing everything out the park in terms of how much pre-orders there are, the hype around the cards, the price of cards at pre-order. They can immediately see, and if they see particularly that Zed's doing really well, what does that suggest to them? That suggests that gives a few pointers. One, they should probably focus a bit more on Zed in League of Legends itself. It starts to change how they attack the larger brand, and then it just means that it gives a lot of healthy data for the brand as a whole. And, for example, let's say Godzilla, for example. Let's say there's a particular kaiju and that they want a monster that they release in one of the sets, and then realize that the monster's doing really well, and they didn't actually think that monster was that popular. They've not really spent much effort in the past really building up that monster, but they've realized there's giant fanfare around this monster. This means that now in their future endeavors for Godzilla, they now push that monster higher in the scene. So I think there's good reason to have collectible spaces as it relates to your franchise, and I think it's not only a good thing to have the collectible space and market data back for the wider brand. I think it's good in the sense of it's people might not like this, but a secondary market is a good thing. Yes, it's a shame that you can't buy what you want at at the recommended retail price, but it does inform, or at least suggest to Riot Games that one, League of Legends is still doing fine because there's crazy demand for it in other mediums. But then it also informs them that, hey, if people like it in this medium, why don't we try another medium? You know, they did Arcane. Arcane was great. They said, let's try another medium. Of course, we've had the League of Runeterra when it was, you know, the card game was online. And they've now moved into the TCG space, and it's also been successful. It informs them and suggests to them, you know, why don't we try another medium? Why don't we try films? Now, that's risky. A film is risky. Film is super risky. But it suggests to them that there are other opportunities out there. So it's a really good way. Again, it's more market data. It helps them collect more information about the demand and how successful they can be in other spaces. And, you know, again, Riftbound has been a success. Yes, we are definitely seeing some scalper action as well, no doubt. Not to the same extent as, say, Pokemon or One Piece, because again, let's face it, people that play League of Legends know about the TCG. If you don't play League of Legends, you have no clue about the TCG. If you watch anime, you know about One Piece. You can then learn about the One Piece TCG and then get into it, even if you're not a One Piece person, and you can scalp a bit. But it's hard to be informed of League of Legends TCG. You hear it, you know, people are uninformed when there's vending card shows. Chances are, if you go to a card show, no one's you know, vending Riftbound. So, you know, people just aren't aware. I imagine if one person does vend Riftbound, people are going to walk up to the stand and say, oh my goodness, League of Legends has a card game. So there's a lot of opportunity as well. But yeah, I think it informs you. Having a successful secondary market, it informs you, because again, let's say Godzilla does, you know, create a secondary, you know, sorry, they've created the TCG. Let's say it does, is it out yet? I'm not sure if it's out yet, I can't remember. But let's say they do release it, and let's say the secondary market just tanks. It's horrible. People are selling it below what they bought. They're selling it at a loss. It's a bad look. And let's say they printed a healthy amount, enough for the players. You know, you always maybe print slightly over, but they've printed enough. But effectively the demand isn't there, and even though the mechanics of the game is good, the collectibles that people aren't as interested in collecting, you know, the Godzilla franchise as they thought, and then, you know, it tanks. That's also market research. That also informs the Godzilla, you know, the team at Godzilla, that actually our brand is not doing as good as we thought it was. We haven't done as good a job in sustaining the hype, you know, toys, comics, you know, trying to have an international appeal. We've not done a good job in doing that. It's market research ultimately. So it informs you in both ways. Either it informs you that your brand is very successful, is doing a very good job, and you have opportunities for other avenues as well. Or it informs you that, hey, actually, unless you pivot and really, you know, go to the drawing boards and make some changes, it could be a suggestion that your franchise is actually, you know, on the down spiral, and really actually looking like in the next 5-10 years your brand may not be worth much in the end. So it's important. And so I think the main reason, obviously, people want to capitalize on the collectible space. They realize that people really want items that you know, they want physical items of the franchises they love. And you know, it's great. I'm sure it's great to see, as you know, Riot Games, that cards are going for 4,000, 5,000, because it means that people really want these items. And you know, when it comes to One Piece and League of Legends, you know that, and even, well, Pokemon's a bit too big now, but you know, with One Piece and Riot Games, League of Legends, you know that a lot of people collecting them are collectors. You see it with One Piece. If you watch a vendor POV, these are collectors. They just want these cards. People will buy like 10 Nami cards. Right, League of Legends, just from the space we're in, we know that people buying the cards right now are people that play League of Legends and like the cards. So, you know, I'm sure Riot Games are seeing this is great. We have people that just want like League of Legends, that are getting their hands on physical items that are from, you know, are related to the League of Legends brand, and they're loving it and they're happy to pay whatever price for it. It's a good look. It's a good sign, and yeah, it's a good look. Maybe we leave it there. I think we could go on and on. Yeah, I think League of Legends has been very successful, and again, you know, it's successful. The secondary market is doing quite a lot, and you know, it's doing well. Sure, in a space where there's much less supply, but I think regardless, it would have been on the up. I wouldn't think we'd be looking at below RRP for this. And you know, if you're a new TCG and let's say you're Godzilla, you release TCG, and provided we're not in a space where it's just scalpers, pushing the price up, and it's successful, and we're seeing the secondary market booming, it's a good sign. It's a good sign. So I think it's good cause to enter into the space. And so yeah, I look forward to what we see. I wonder how many more brands will move into the space. I don't think Cyberpunk 2077. I don't think they're the last of the larger brands entering. I don't know who will join next, but I think it's interesting. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Again, I like to have these wider conversations. The market will always be here, but I do want to have these wider conversations and get your thoughts. And yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments. Give us a like if you enjoy what's happening here. Give us a subscribe. We're here for the long run. Yeah, let's see how it goes, and speak to you later. Cheers.